ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavata Puranam, Canto number 3, chapter number 22, text number 1. The marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. Maitreya Uvacha. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.22.1. Maitreya Uvacha. Evam avishkrita shesha gunakarmodayo munim savrudha iva tam samrad uparatam uvacha. Maitreya uvacha. Evam avishkrita shesha gunakarmodayo munim savrida iva tam samrad uparatam uvacha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Maitreya said, after describing the greatness of the emperor's manifold qualities and activities, the sage became silent, and the emperor, feeling modesty, addressed him as follows. Text number 2. Manurvacha Brahma Srujat Swamukato Yusman Atma Parishaya Chando Mayastapo Vidya Yoga Yuktan Alampatan. Translation purport by His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Manu replied, to expand himself in Vedic knowledge, Lord Brahma, this personified Veda, from his face created you, the Brahmanas, who are full of austerity, knowledge and mystic power, and are averse to sense gratification. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Purpose of Vedas is to propagate the transcendental knowledge of the absolute truth. The Brahmanas were created from the mouth of the Supreme Person, and therefore they are meant to spread the knowledge of the Vedas in order to spread the glories of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita also Lord Krishna says that all the Vedas are meant for understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is especially mentioned here, Yoga Yuktam Alampatan, that Brahmanas are full of mystic power and are completely averse to sense gratification. Actually, there are two kinds of occupations. One occupation in the material world is sense gratification, and the other occupation is spiritual activity. To satisfy the Lord by His glorification, those who engage in sense gratification are called demons, and those who spread the glorification of the Lord are satisfied the transcendental sense of the Lord are called demigods. It is especially mentioned here that the Brahmanas are created from the face of the cosmic personality or Virat Purusha. Similarly, the Kshatriyas are said to be created from his arms, the Vaishyas are created from his waist, and the Shudras are created from his legs. Brahmanas are especially meant for austerity, learning and knowledge, and are averse to all kinds of sense gratification. Text number 3. Tat prana yashrujat chasman doha sahasrat sahasrapat hridayam tasya ibrahma kshatram angam pratakshate. Translation and purport by His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Jai. For the protection of the Brahmanas, the 1,000-legged Supreme Being created us, the Kshatriyas from his 1,000 arms. Hence the Brahmanas are said to be his heart and the Kshatriyas his arms. Kshatriyas, purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Kshatriyas are specifically meant to maintain the Brahmanas, because if the Brahmanas are protected, then the head of civilization is protected. Brahmanas are supposed to be the head of the social body. The head is clear and has not gone mad. If the head is clear and has not gone mad, then everything is in proper position. The Lord is described thus: Namo Brahmanya Devaya Guru Brahmana Hitaya Cha. The purport of this prayer is that the Lord specifically protects the Brahmanas and the cows, and then He protects all other members of society. Jagatitaya. It is His will that universal welfare work depends on the protection of cows and Brahmanas. Thus, Brahmanical culture and co-protection are the basic principle of human civilization. Kshatriyas are especially meant to protect the Brahmanas, as is the supreme will of the Lord. Go Brahmana Hitaicha. As the heart is a very important part within the body, so the Brahmanas are also the important element in human society. The Kshatriyas are more like the whole body, even though the whole body is bigger than the heart. The heart is more important. Text number 4. Ato hi anyonyam atmanam brahma kshatram cha rakshataha rakshati smavyayo devaha sayah sat asat atmakaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. That is why the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas protect each other as well as themselves, and the Lord Himself, who is both the cause and effect and is very immutable, protects them through each other. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The entire social structure of Varna and Ashrama is a cooperative system meant to uplift all to the highest platform of spiritual realization. The Brahmanas are intended to be protected by the Kshatriyas, and the Kshatriyas are also intended to be enlightened by the Brahmanas. When the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas cooperate nicely, the other subordinate divisions, the Vaishyas are mercantile people, the Shudras or laborer class, automatically flourish. The entire elaborate system of Vedic society was therefore based on the importance of the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. The Lord is the real protector, but He is unattached to the affairs of protection. He creates Brahmanas for the protection of the Kshatriyas and Kshatriyas for the protection of the Brahmanas. He remains aloof from all activities, therefore he is called Nirvikara, without activity. He has nothing to do. He is so great that he does not perform action personally, but his energies act. The Brahmanas and Kshatriyas and anything that we see are different energies acting upon one another. Although individual souls are all different, the super soul, super self or super soul is the Supreme Personality Godhead. Individually, one self may differ from the others in certain qualities and may engage in different activities, such as those of a Brahmana, Kshatriya or Vaishya. But when there is complete cooperation among different individual souls, Supreme Personality Godhead as Super Soul, Paramatma, being one in every individual soul, is pleased and gives them all protection. As stated before, the Brahmanas are produced from the mouth of the Lord, and the Kshatriyas are produced from the chest or arms of the Lord. If the different caste or social sections, although apparently differently occupied in different activities, nevertheless act in full cooperation, then the Lord is pleased. Thus, this is the idea of the institution of 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. The members of different Ashramas and Varnas cooperate fully in Krishna consciousness, then society is well protected by the Lord without doubt. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the Lord is the proprietor of all different bodies. The individual soul is the proprietor of the individual body. But Lord clearly states, my dear Bharata, you must know that I am also Kshetrajna. Kshetrajna means the knower of, or proprietor of the body. The individual soul is the proprietor of the individual body, but the super soul, the personality Godhead, Krishna, is the proprietor of all bodies everywhere. He is the proprietor of not only of humans' bodies but of birds, beasts and all other entities. Not only on this planet but on other planets also. He is a supreme proprietor. Therefore, he does not become divided by protecting the different individual souls. He remains one and the same. That the sun appears on top of everyone's head when at the meridian does not imply that the sun becomes divided. One man thinks that the sun is on his head only, whereas 5,000 miles away another man is thinking that the sun is only on his head. Similarly, the super soul, the Supreme Personality Godhead, is one, but he appears to individually oversee each individual soul. This does not mean that the individual soul and the super soul are one. They are one in quality as spirit soul, but the individual soul and super soul are different. Text number 5. Tava sandarshanadeva chinna me sarva samshayaha yat swayam bhagavan pritya dharmam ahari rakshito shishoho. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Vijay. Now I have resolved all my doubts simply by meeting you, for your Lordship has very kindly and clearly explained the duty of a king who desires to protect his subjects. Manu. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Vijay. Manu described herewith the result of seeing a great saintly person. Lord Chaitanya says that one should always try to associate with saintly persons, because if one establishes a proper association with a saintly person, even for a moment, one attains all perfection. Somehow or other, if one meets a saintly person and achieves his favor, then the entire mission of one's human life is fulfilled. In our personal experience, we have actual proof of the statement of Manu. Once we had the opportunity to meet Vishnupada Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja, and on first sight he requested this humble self to preach his message in the Western countries. There was no preparation for this, but somehow or other he decided, and by his grace we are now engaged in executing his order, which has given us a transcendental occupation and has saved and liberated us from the occupation of material activities. Thus, it is actually a fact that if one meets a saintly person completely engaged in transcendental activities and achieves his favor, then one's life mission becomes complete. What is not possible to achieve in thousands of lives can be achieved in one moment if there is an opportunity to meet a saintly person. It is therefore enjoined in Vedic literature that one should always try to associate with saintly persons and try to disassociate oneself from the common man, because by one word of a saintly person one can be liberated from material entanglement. A saintly person has the power, because of his spiritual advancement, to give immediate liberation to the conditioned soul. Here Manu admits that all his doubts are now over, because Kardama has very kindly described the different duties of individual souls. Dishtya me Bhagavan Drishto Durdarsho yo Kritatmanam Dishtya Pada Rajah Sprishtam Sirshna me Bhavatah Sivam. Translation and purport by His Divine Bhakti Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. It is my good fortune that I have been able to see you, for you cannot easily be seen by persons who have not subdued the mind or controlled the senses. I am all the more fortunate to have touched with my head the blessed dust of your lotus feet, your feet. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The perfection of transcendental life can be achieved simply by touching the holy dust of the lotus feet of a holy man. In the Bhagavatam it is said, Mahatpada Rajobhishekam, which means to be blessed by the dust, holy dust of the lotus feet of a Mahat, a great devotee. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Mahatmanas Tumam. Those who are great souls are under the spell of spiritual energy, and their symptom is that they fully engage in Krishna consciousness for the service of the Lord. Therefore they are called Mahat. Unless one is fortunate enough to have dust of the lotus feet of a Mahatma on one's head, there is no possibility of perfection in spiritual life. The Parampara system of disciple succession is very important as a means of spiritual success. One becomes a Mahat by the grace of his Mahat spiritual master. If one takes shelter of this spiritual great soul, there is every possibility of one's becoming a great soul. One becomes a Mahat by the grace of a Mahat spiritual master. If one takes shelter of the lotus feet of a great soul, there is every possibility of one's becoming a great soul. When Maharaja Rahugana asked Jadabharata about his wonderful achievement of spiritual success, he replied to the king that spiritual success is not possible and simply by following rituals of religion, or simply by covering oneself into a sannyasi, converting oneself into a sannyasi, or offering sacrifices as recommended in the scriptures. These methods are undoubtedly helpful for spiritual realization. The real effect is brought about by the grace of a Mahatma. In Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura's 8 stanzas of prayer to the spiritual master, it is clearly stated that simply by satisfying the spiritual master, one can achieve the supreme success in life. And in spite of executing all ritualistic performances, if one cannot satisfy the spiritual master, one has no access to spiritual perfection. Here the word Akrita Atmanam is very significant. Atma means body, soul or mind, and Akrita Atma means a common man who cannot control the senses or the mind. Because the common man is unable to control the senses and the mind, it is his duty to seek the shelter of a great soul or a great devotee of the Lord and just try to please him. That will make his life perfect. A common man cannot rise to the topmost stage of spiritual perfection simply by following the rituals and religious principles. He has to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and work under his direction faithfully and sincerely. Then he becomes perfect without a doubt. Dishtya Tvayanu Sishtoham Kritaschanu Graho Mahan Apavritaihi karnarandrair justa dishkyo shatirgirah. Translation and purport by His Divine Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. I have fortunately been instructed by you, and thus great favor has been bestowed upon me. I thank God that I have listened with open ears to your pure words. Purport by His Divine Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Rupa Goswami has given directions in this Bhaktiratam Sindhu on how to accept a bona fide spiritual master and how to deal with him. First, the desiring candidate must find a bona fide spiritual master, and then he must very eagerly receive instructions from him and execute them. This is reciprocal service. A bona fide spiritual master is or saintly person always desires to elevate a common man who comes to him, because everyone is under the clutches delusion of Maya and is forgetful of his prime duty, Krishna consciousness. A saintly person always desires that everyone become a saintly person. It is a function of a saintly person to invoke Krishna consciousness in every forgetful common man. Manu said that since he was advised and instructed by Kardama Muni, he was very much favored. He considered himself unlucky to receive the message by oral reception. It is especially mentioned here that one should be very inquisitive to hear with open ears from the authorized source of the bona fide spiritual master. How is one to receive? One should receive the transcendental message by oral reception. The word Karnarandraihi means through the holes of the ears. The favor of the spiritual master is not received through any other part of the body but the ears. This does not mean, however, that the spiritual master gives a particular type of mantra through the ears in exchange for some dollars, and if the man meditates on that, he achieves perfection and becomes God within 6 months. Such reception through the ears is bogus. The real fact is that a bona fide spiritual master knows the nature of a particular man and what sort of duties he can perform in Krishna consciousness, and he instructs him in that way. He instructs him through the ear, not privately but publicly. But you are fit for such and such work in Krishna consciousness. You can act in this way. One person is advised to act in Krishna consciousness by working in the deity's room, or another is advised to act in Krishna consciousness by performing editorial work. Another is advised to do preaching work, and another is advised to carry out Krishna consciousness in the cooking department. There are different departments of activities in Krishna consciousness, and a spiritual master, knowing the particular ability of a particular man, trains him in such a way that by his tendency to act, he becomes perfect. Bhagavad Gita makes it clear that one can attain the highest perfection of spiritual life simply by offering service according to his ability, just as Arjuna served Krishna by his ability in the military art. Arjuna offered his service fully as a military man, and he became perfect. Similarly, an artist can attain perfection simply by performing artistic work under the direction of the spiritual master. If one is a literary man, he can write articles and poetry for the service of the Lord under the direction of the spiritual master. One has to receive the message of the spiritual master regarding how to act in one's capacity, for the spiritual master is expert in giving such instructions. This combination, this instruction of the spiritual master and the faithful execution of the instruction by the disciple makes the entire process perfect. Srila Chakra Thakura describes in his explanation of the verse in Bhagavad Gita, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, that one who wants to be certain to achieve spiritual success must take the instruction from the spiritual master as to what his particular function is. He should faithfully try to execute that particular instruction and should consider that his life and soul. The faithful execution of the instruction which he receives from the spiritual master is the only duty of a disciple, and that will bring him perfection. One should be very careful to receive the message from the spiritual master through the ears and execute it faithfully. That will make one's life successful. Text number 8. Shri Bhavan Duhitra Sneha, Shri Bhavan Sabhavan Duhitra Sneha, Parikrishtatmano Manama Mama, Shrotum Arhasi Dinasya, Shravitam Kripaya Mune. Translation and purport by His Divine Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. O great sage, graciously be pleased to listen to the prayer of my humble self, for my mind is troubled by affection for my daughter. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Jai. When a disciple is perfectly in consonance with the spiritual master, having received his message and executed it perfectly and sincerely, he has a right to ask a particular favor from the spiritual master. Generally, a pure devotee of the Lord or a pure devotee of a bona fide spiritual master does not ask any favor either from the Lord or the spiritual master. But even if there is a need to ask a favor from the spiritual master, one cannot ask that favor without satisfying him fully. Swayambhuva Manu wanted to disclose his mind regarding the function, or he wanted to execute due to affection for his daughter. Next, number 9. Priyavrto tanapado swasheyam duhita mama anvichati patim yuktam bayahasila gunadibihi. Translation by Students Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Vijay. My daughter is the sister of Priyavrata and Uttanapada. She is seeking a suitable husband in terms of age, character and good qualities. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Vijay. The grown-up daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, Devahuti, had good character and was well qualified. Therefore, she was searching for a suitable husband just befitting her age, qualities and character. The purpose of Manu's introducing his daughter as a sister of Priyavrata and Uttanapada, two great kings, was to convince the sage that the girl came from a great family. She was his daughter and at the same time the sister of Kshatriyas. She did not come from a lower class family. Manu therefore offered her to Kardama as just suitable for his purpose. It is clear that although the daughter was mature in age and qualities, she did not go out and find her husband independently. She expressed her desire for a suitable husband corresponding to her character, age and quality, and the father himself, out of affection for his daughter, took charge of finding such a husband. Text number 10. Yada tu bhavatah shila shruta rupa vayo gunan asrunon narada desha tvayasit krita nishchaya. Translation and purport by Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Vijay. The moment she heard from the sage Narada of your noble character, learning, beautiful appearance, youth and other virtues, she fixed her mind upon you. Purport. The girl Devahuti did not personally see Kardama Muni, nor did she personally experience his character or qualities, since there was no social intercourse by which she could gain such understanding, but she heard about Kardama Muni from the authority of Narada Muni. Hearing from an authority is a better experience than gaining personal understanding. She heard from Narada Muni and that Kardama Muni was just fit to be her husband. Therefore she became fixed in her heart that she would marry him, and she expressed her desire to her father, who therefore brought her before him. Text number 11. Tat praticha Dvijagreyamam Shraddhayopaharutam Maya Sarvatmananurupam Te Grahamedishu Karmashu. Translation and purport by Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Vijay. Therefore, please accept her, O chief of the Brahmanas, for I offer her with faith, and she is in every respect fit to be your wife and take charge of your household duties. Purport. The words Grahamedishu Karmeshu means in household duties. Another word is also used here, Sarvatmananurupam. The purport is that a wife should not only be equal to her husband in age, character and qualities, but must be helpful to him in his household duties. The household duty of a man is not to satisfy sense gratification, but to remain with the wife and children and at the same time attain advancement in spiritual life. One who does not do so is not a householder but a Grahamedi. Two words are used in Sanskrit literature. One is Grahastha and another is Grahamedi. Difference between Grahamedi and Grahastha is that Grahastha is also an ashrama or spiritual order. But if one simply satisfies senses as a householder, then he is a Grahamedi. For a Grahamedi, to accept a wife means to satisfy the senses. But for a Grahastha, a qualified wife is an assistant in every respect for advancement in spiritual activities. It is a duty of the wife to take charge of household affairs and not to compete with the husband. A wife is meant to help, but she cannot help her husband unless he is completely equal to her in age, character and quality. Text number 12. Udyatasya hi kamasya prativado na sasyate api nirmukta sangasya kama raktasya kim punaha. Translation and purport by Sri Bhaktivinoda Srila Prabhupada Vijay. To deny an offering that has come of itself is not commendable even for one absolutely free from all attachment, much less one addicted to sensual pleasure. In material life, everyone is desirous of sense gratification. Therefore, a person who gets an object of sense gratification without endeavor should not refuse to accept it. Kardama Muni was not meant for sense gratification, yet he aspired to marry and prayed to the Lord for a suitable wife. This was known to Swayambhu Manu. He indirectly convinced Kardama Muni, "You desire a suitable wife like my daughter, and she is now present before you. You should not reject the fulfillment of prayer. You should accept my daughter." Text number 13. Ya udyatam anadritya khinasam vyachate shriyate tat yashah spitam manascha vagnaya hatah. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Vijay. One who rejects an offering that comes of its own accord but later begs a boon from a miser thus loses his widespread reputation, and his pride is humbled by the neglectful behavior of others. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The general procedure of Vedic marriage is that a father offers his daughter to a suitable boy. That is a very respectable marriage. Boy should not go to the girl's father and ask for the hand of his daughter in marriage. A boy should not go to the girl's father and ask for the hand of his daughter in marriage. That is considered to be humbling one's respectable position. Swayambhuva Manu wanted to convince Kardama Muni, since he knew that a sage wanted to marry a suitable girl. I am offering just such a suitable wife. Do not reject the offer, or else because you are in need of a wife, you will have to ask for such a wife from someone else who may not behave with you so well. In that case, your position will be humbled. Another feature of this incident is that Swayambhu Manu was the emperor, but he went to offer his wife and daughter to a poor Brahmana. Kardama Muni had no worldly possessions. He was a hermit living in the forest, but he was advanced in culture. Therefore, in offering one's daughter to a person, culture and quality are counted as prominent, not wealth or any other material consideration. Text number 14. Aham tvashranavam vidvan aham tvasranavam vidvan vivahartam samudyatam atastvam upakurvanah prattam pratigrahana me. Translation and purport by Sri Bhaktivinoda Prabhupada Vijay. Swayambhuva Manu continued, "O wise one, wise man, I heard that you were prepared to marry. Please accept her hand, which is being offered to you by me, since you have not taken a vow of perpetual celibacy." Purport by Srila Prabhupada Vijay. The principle of brahmacharya is celibacy. There are two kinds of brahmacharis. One is called Naistika brahmacharya, which means one who takes a vow of celibacy for his whole life, whereas the other, the Upakurvana brahmachari, is a brahmachari who takes the vow of celibacy up to a certain age. For example, he may take the vow to remain celibate up to 25 years of age. Then, with the permission of his spiritual master, he enters married life. Brahmacharya is student life, the beginning of life in the spiritual orders, and the principle of brahmacharya is celibacy. Only a householder can indulge in sense gratification for our sex life, not a brahmachari. Swayambhu Manu requested Kardama Muni to accept his daughter. Since Kardama Muni had not taken the vow of Naistika brahmacharya, he was willing to marry, and a suitable daughter of a high royal family was presented.